All right, good evening. We are finally on the last blot of Maseches Gittin. We're starting at a Mishnah on the top line of Daf Tzadi Amud Aleph, and we're going to save the last 5 lines or so. The last 5 lines, the last 5 lines on Tzadi Amud Beis for the Seam tomorrow night. Tomorrow night we will have a Seam. If you have yet to sign up, $20. Please feel free to Venmo me or send it through Zelle, Chase QuickPay, or cash, whatever. And we will as well start Daf Beis in Kedushin tomorrow night. So we have 5 lines left of Gittin, moving straight over to Kedushin. Let us finish the last blot of this Masechta. Says the Gemara, what are the standards for divorce? And this is the Machlokas Tanaim. Beishamai Omrim lo yigarish adam es ishto el im kein matza ba'ervas davar erva. A person should only divorce his wife if she was involved in something that had to do with erva, something of inappropriateness with another man. Shene'emar ki matza ba ervas davar. Sounds like a pretty good proof. Now I'm just giving you some foreshadowing. Beis Hillel has the same proof, same pasuk, but he uses it quite differently. Beis Hillel ormim, no, it's not only for dvar erva. Afilu hikdicha tafshilo. Even if she would have done something significant, like burning food that she was cooking for him, that would also be grounds for divorce. Look at the pasuk. Shene'emar ki matza ba ervas davar. Where in the pasuk does ervas davar talk about cooking? We'll have to discuss that in the Gemara because that doesn't seem to make sense. Rabbi Akiva Omer, even more lenient. Afilu matza acheres na himena. Even if a man sees that there's another woman who's more fitting, more beautiful, shene'emar v'haya im lo simsa chein be'ena. So the machlokes over here is whether or not it's appropriate to divorce a wife only for erva reasons, meaning she did something inappropriate, or even for burning food, or even if the husband just sees a woman who happens to be more beautiful. So Rabbi, who was this who spoke? I was with Rabbi Robinson. I think we had some kind of weekend a year ago. I can't remember who spoke, but somebody said, something's wrong with your marriage. If all of the women in the room, in the world, are sitting across from you and you pick anyone other than your wife. That was how they framed it out. You need to know for yourself. It's not about Yofi in a vacuum. It's about Yofi as it relates to the couple. Yofi as it relates to complementing of who we are, of what we need, and what we can provide. A very lofty level. It says the Gemara, Tanya, we have a brisa. Amr Beis Hillel leBeis Shammai. Beis Hillel says to Beis Shammai. Remember, Beis Hillel said that even burning a dish is a problem. That's grounds for divorce. V'halo kvar ne'emar davar. The pasuk says the word davar. So the word davar is not ervas. The pasuk says ervas davar. Beis Hillel looks at the word and says, the word davar is extra. Amr lehem Beis Shammai. Beis Shammai says back to Hillel, what are you talking about? V'halo kvar ne'emar ervas. The pasuk says ervas, and that's why we're saying that it's only grounds for divorce with ervas. Amr lehem Beis Hillel. Im ne'emar ervas v'lo ne'emar davar. Beis Hillel tries to articulate their shita. Had the Torah said the word ervas and not said the word davar, I would have then known. Hayisi omer mishum erva teitze, mishum davar lo teitze. That they would have, that erva, her violations in that space would have been grounds for divorce. But mishum davar, but because of something like burning a dish or something along those lines, lo teitze. L'kach ne'emar davar, to show us that both of these are reasonable grounds for divorce. Number 1 is erva, and number 2 is davar, that when something is burnt, the food is burnt. L'kach ne'emar davar, that's why the Torah said both. But the opposite's also true. V'ilu ne'emar davar v'lo ne'emar ervas. If it would have been the case that the Torah said ki matza ba davar, not ervas davar, then what would I have known? V'lo ne'emar ervas hayisi omer mishum davar tinaseh la'acher. That had it been that it only said the word davar, I would have assumed that for davar she's allowed to marry somebody else. Umishum erva, but had it been that there was erva, lo tinaseh la'acher. Had it been that she did something wrong with erva, she wouldn't be allowed to remarry ever. L'kach ne'emar. That's why the Torah says ervas. So Beis Hillel explains himself pretty clearly that the word ervas and the word davar in the pasuk of ki matza ba ervas davar, ervas is one thing and davar is another. And what that means is that if a woman does something wrong in the erva space, she is to be divorced by her husband. That is grounds for divorce. And if she also makes an error in regards to burning a food, making it too salty, whatever the case may be, that literally isn't only what it means. It means things of significance. So then, in that case as well, that would be grounds for divorce. Ubeis Shammai, if that's the way the Beis Hillel learns, that the word davar is actually intentional, and ervas is one grounds for dismissal, and davar is another. And if Beis Shammai says no, only ervas davar applies, only if there's licentiousness. Ubeis Shammai, hi davar, my avdile. What do you do with the word davar? So says the Gemara, a third of the way down, we have a Gzera Shava. And that's why Beis Shammai doesn't use the word davar for what we would have thought. What's the Gzera Shava where Beis Shammai uses the word davar? The Gemara says, Ne'emar kan davar. We have our pasuk that says, Ki matzah ba'ervas davar. V'ne'emar lahalan davar. And in another pasuk, we also have the word davar. What's that pasuk? Al pish naim edim, or al pish lo sha'idim yakum davar. Ma lahalan b'shnei edim. Just like over there in Sefer Dvarim, it speaks about two people as it relates to Eidos. Avkan b'shnei edim. Here too, the word davar teaches us that it needs to be with two edim. Not that it's a reasonable threshold to divorce because of what Beis Hillel said, that davar is hikticha bishula, that she burnt food. No, it's only ervas davar. Beis Hillel, what would you say back to that? Beis Hillel says, miksiv erva bid davar. Does it say that there's erva with a particular thing, combining the two languages? And therefore he says, no, it's ervas davar, and therefore they're separate things. Beis Shammai pushes back and says, no, miksiv o erva o davar. It doesn't say if there's two crimes. It says if there's ervas davar. The pashtus of the pasuk is really like Beis Shammai. It's really like when you say ervas davar, that's the pashtus of the pasuk. But we have to remember, and this is one of the most complex things for us to figure out, how did the Chachamim know how to parse out a pasuk? We have no idea, really. We don't know, because even the Yud Gimel Midos Shator Nidreshes behind doesn't explain a case like this. We're balabatim. If we see ki matzah ervas davar, if you find something that is an ervas davar, we would have thought something of erva. Beis Hillel says you're learning the pasuk wrong. It's ervas is one reason for divorce, and davar is another. But Beis Shammai really sounds like the pashas. We just don't typically paskin like him. So that was what Beis Shammai pushed back. He says to Beis Hillel, if you're right, then why doesn't the pasuk say o erva o davar? And Beis Hillel responds, and with this section of the Gemara will conclude. Beis Hillel, ervas davar temash mahachi umash mahachi. He says really, the language of ervas davar has a slight ambiguity in it. And that slight ambiguity is reason enough for us to learn that there are two reasonable thresholds for divorce. One is erva, that she did something inappropriate with another man. And one is davar, that she did something of significance to harm the marriage. And the shita that's really the most troubling is Rabbi Akiva. If you look back in the Mishnah 5 lines down, 6 lines down on the page, we had said that even if a man sees another woman who is more beautiful, then the husband is then allowed to give his wife a get. It was very nice being with you, but you're not as beautiful as this other woman. We're hereby getting divorced. And the Gemara, the Mishnah at the top of the page, quoted a pasuk, Shne'emar, v'haya'im lo simtza chen be'inav, if she does not find favor in his eyes. So let's analyze the shita of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva Omer, that afilu matza acheres, that even if a man finds another woman who's more beautiful, he's allowed to divorce her because of that. B'mai kamiflage. And when the Gemara says b'mai kamiflage, it's bifurcating the Tanaim like this. We have Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel on the one side. Is it only erva or is it erva and davar? And then we have Rabbi Akiva on the other. So b'mai kamiflage, what is this two-way machlokes? Says the Gemara b'dereish lakish. What they're arguing about is Reish Lakish. Now, of course, historically, we know Reish Lakish lived well after this period of time. We're just saying that they were arguing about what Reish Lakish had said in the future. The concept existed before. What was the machlokes? To Amar Reish Lakish, the word ki in the pasuk is meshamesh bedala lashonos. The word ki is used in 4 different ways throughout the Torah. It's e. I think some Gemaras have o. My Gemara says over here e, dilma, ella, and daha. The first one is if. The second one where ki could be is perhaps. The third is ella, which is rather. And the fourth is daha, which is because. So says the Gemara, here's the machlokes between the two of them. How do we look at the word ki in the pasuk of ki matzah ba'ervas davar? Halfway down. Beis Shammai savre, they hold as follows. V'hayayim lo simtza chen be'einav, when it is that she does not find favor in his eyes, and here the word ki is being used, ki matzah ba'ervas davar, says the Gemara, Deha, because matzav ervas davar. Now we understand a deeper layer of Beis Shammai. How did Beis Shammai learn the pasuk? Beis Shammai said that the word ki in the pasuk works like this: if she doesn't find favor in his eyes, why didn't she find favor? Because ki matzav ervas davar. Because there was an ervas davar. That's why he learns the pasuk the way that he does. The Rabbi Akiva, who's super lenient and says that even a more beautiful woman is grounds for divorce. Rabbi Akiva Savar, ki matzah ba'ervas davar, doesn't mean because, but it means inami, if. If there is another person who's more beautiful, or if it's reason number one is ki lo simtza chen be'inav, and if there's ervas davar. Either reason is considered valid, and therefore Rabbi Akiva holds that even a more beautiful woman is a reason for a divorce. should not bring this home tonight. This is not like table talk. I'm just saying this, but it is what you guys gotta, for all the women out there. It's not, we have to understand this is not how marriages work nowadays. Let's just be clear. But that's what the Shita of Rabbi Akiva is that it is grounds for divorce according to Rabbi Akiva.
Doesn't he have a roving eye?
You mean humans? I was thinking the other day, the acronym for the word tzitzis is Tzaddik Yafrid Tzitzios Tamid. It's quoted in the Mishnah Berurah like this, that a tzaddik is a person who is Yafrid Tzitzios Tamid. He always separates his strings. I was just thinking, like, the word tzitz is meitzitz min acharakim, peeking through. It could be that a tzaddik is Yafrid Tzitzios Tamid. He always separates the tzitzin, the things that he looks at. The tzaddikim, they don't look at the things that they shouldn't be looking at. They only look at the things that they should be looking at. They're mafrid tzitzios of tamid. And the word tzitzis is, ironically, quote unquote, what's the whole parsha about? It fits kaftor v'ferach. I just don't know if it's true. If somebody, it sounds true. Rabbi Schechter could for sure get away with it. I just don't know if it's emes, but it sounds accurate based on the word tzitzin, not tzitz but tzitz, betzitz min acharakin. Anyways, you're right, Michael. We should only look at the things we should be looking at. We should. Amar li Rav Papa li Rava, lo matzaba, lo erva v'lo davar, mahu. Let's say that a man divorces his wife, but he does so with no grounds. He passed no thresholds, not the threshold of erva, not the threshold of davar. What's the din? What happens with that divorce? Amar le, let's see. We know in a case where a man violates a woman, the Torah says, lo yucha l'shalacha kol yama. He's not allowed to send her away all of his days. What's the drush on this? Kol yama, for all the days that he's around, be'amud v'hechzir kai. He's always obligated to take care of her. What does that imply? Hasamhu degali rachmana. Only over there in regards to a case of ones, where the Torah requires the violator to offer that this woman should stay with him forever. Only over there are they obligated to stay together. Aval hacha, in a case where a husband divorces his wife with no grounds, with no erva, and with no davar, mai de avad. Done. So what seems to be is that Ladina, if a husband divorces his wife without cause, so Lamaisa the get is chal, and therefore it seems to be that the machlokas we have between Beis Shammai, Beis Hillel, and Rabbi Akiva is about appropriateness of divorce, not about the halachic mechanism of divorce. It's different, right? One is a value system of when is it appropriate? Yes, no, maybe. And the other is, does this get work? And Ladina, the get works under all circumstances, even if a man divorces a wife out of the blue, stone cold, with no feelings, nothing ever happened. Hareat megureshes, he writes it down. Hareat mutaras l'chol adam, he get perfect get, hands it to her. She said, what did I do? He said, nothing. They're divorced. So that's what it's important to frame our Mishnah, that our Mishnah is not talking about the halachic process of divorce. We're talking about the appropriateness of divorce. And 2/3 of the way down, a little bit more, 3/4 of the way down. Amar le Rav Mesharshia le Rava. Im libo le garsha, if his intent was to divorce her in his heart, but she didn't know. And she was sitting with him, and she was servicing him, she was taking care of him, whatever the case may be. Mahu, what's the din? So the Gemara says, I'm going to answer you, but I'm not going to tell you the din. I'm just going to criticize the husband. Kari alei, over here, we have a saying. The Gemara says, Al tacharosh al re'acha ra'ah, v'hu yoshev lavetach itach. You should not be silent to your re'ah, to your companion. And says the Gemara that v'hu yoshev lavetach itach, when they're sitting with you, trusting you, you should not do that. That's not appropriate. In other words, once a husband decides that he wants to divorce his wife, he should let her know. Tanya the Brisa writes, fascinating piece of Gemara. Rabbi Meir Omer, since in the same way that people view food issues differently, the same is true that people view women differently. How so? That a man is drinking a cup of wine and he sees that a fly comes into the wine. He spills out the whole cup, baby and bathwater, fly and wine, and he won't drink it. Vizohi midas Papus ben Yehuda. This was the custom of Papus ben Yehuda, and the Gemara is using the wine only as a mashal. Shahaya Noel bifnei ishto v'yotze. He would lock his wife up and not let her go out of the house. take a look at a Rashi that got through the censors. Rashi is 2 lines from the bottom. Papus ben Yehuda, Baila shel Miriam Magdala. It's unbelievable Rashi. Nishaya, his wife, critical word addition there, right? Mary Magdalene, as it's referred to in some of the more.
There were 2, remember?
Yeah, there were 2. There were 2. But the Rishonim here write that Yeshu was a derivative of this relationship.
I forgot which is which.
It's hard to tell, but I didn't see this on my own. But Rabbi Resnick said, if you read more in here, he says, she was Mizana, and the result, it doesn't say it here, but the result of this was Yeshu. So Mary Magdalene apparently was married. I'm just saying. Anyways, the Gemara says that that's what Papas ben Yehuda did. He's the kind of husband who was so overbearing that his wife rebelled. And then V'yesh lecha Adam, 4 lines from the bottom, shezvuv nofel lesoch koso. This is the more calm-natured person, where if there's wine that has a fly fall into it, v'zorko v'shosehu, he throws out the bug, but he drinks the rest of the wine. I think our generation on the wine side is a little bit mefunakin.
That humming comes without asparagus.
That what?
Spill the wine and won't drink them, something like that.
I don't remember.
They'll gladly throw out the fly and drink the wine. You touch it, don't
yeah.
Right.
I don't even remember that. Don't remember.
Yeah.
Probably taught it, but don't remember it. So it says the Gemara, V'zohi midas kol adam. That's normal. That's normal behavior. Shemidaberes imacheha ukroveha umenicha. That a woman should speak with her brothers and with her relatives, and he should be okay with that. Umenicha, he should be fine with that. That's normal. Then there's a man where the fly falls into the wine, into the container of wine, and motzitzo va'ochlo. He's motzitzo, he drinks the whole cup, even the fly. By the way, these mashalim are not easy to connect. I just want to be super clear because we'll see now that the comparisons are very difficult. Zohi midas adam ra. This is the habit of a man who is evil. Sheroa es ishto yotza. He sees that his wife is going out, v'rosha parua, with her hair uncovered, v'tova b'shuk, and she is twisting thread in the marketplace. Top of Tzadi Amud Beis, the last turn of the Masechta. Ufruma mishnei tzedadeha, and she's revealed on both sides. The Rashi here says, Dibra hamaschel ufruma mishnei tzedadeha, etzel atzili yadeha, by her armpits, by her sides, kederach adomios she b'tzarfas, she bisra nir mitzidehen. They had a slit on each side of their clothes, under their arms against the side of their body, right here, where the slit was open and skin was visible. So the Gemara says that was one of the things she was doing. She's bathing with men. The Gemara interjects and says, she's bathing with men? How can that be? That's definitely not what's happening, because that's not a chashash, that's an isser. All of these other things are, they might be usher in a certain way, but it's not znos proper. Says the Gemara, Ella b'makom shebnei adam rochtzen. We're talking about in a place where people are in fact bathing, but she's not bathing with him. So the Gemara says about this woman who goes out of the house like this, who dresses in a way that's and carries herself, it's both, in a prutzadik way. The Gemara says, Zu mitzvah min haTorah legarsha. That's the kind of woman that you should be divorcing. Shene'emar, because the Torah says ki matza ba ervas v'gomer, and then it says v'shilcha mibeso v'halcha v'haisa le'ish acher hakaso karo acher. The next husband that she goes to is called another guy, namely she's leaving the first guy. Lomar she'ein zeh ben zugo l'rishon, that the second husband is not the ben zugo l'rishon. This relationship is not right. Zehotzi rishon mibeso. The first husband told the woman, "Get out of my house, you're a rasha," and v'zeh hichnis risha l'soch beso. And the second husband took the woman in. That's not kishmak. That's not the way things should be. Zacha sheni, if the second husband merits, then shalcha, he'll send her away. It's not a good marriage when they say if you're zocha, you'll get divorced. But that's what it says. Shne'emar, the pasuk says, usne'aha isha acharon. Hated is the second man. This marriage should not last. Ve'im lav, if the second husband is not zocha, then kovarto, she'll end up burying him. Because as the pasuk says, Shene'emar, the pasuk continues, "Oh ki yamusa isha achron asher lekachalo leisha." The second man will die. Kedai hu b'misa, he really deserves to die. Shezehotzi risha mibeso v'zehichnis risha lesoch beso. The second husband really deserves to die, because he brought this woman into his marriage, and she's really a prutza. She's really not. Forget about Bas Torah. The parameters that are presented over here are not good parameters. She's hanging out in a bathhouse with other men. She's not dressed properly. The hair's uncovered. All the different things. Okay, that's where we're going to stop right here. All right, so we're going to stop on the last of the short lines on Sadi Amud Beis. Tomorrow we'll start with Ki, with the pasuk. We'll darshan this Gemara. We'll stop. We'll have a siyum, and then we will in Yirtzeh Hashem start Maseches Kedushin and learn Daf Beis. What day is it tomorrow?
What's that?
What day is it tomorrow?
Tomorrow is
Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Awesome. Okay, so it's not Thursday yet. Fantastic.
Oh, don't you have a wedding to do on?
I do. Figured out. Wishing you all a beautiful night.
God, so what's